Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing episode 101. And if you can hear some like dogs bark and kids playing around, we're in the middle of a motocross paddock over right on the west coast. Beautiful scenery, and we're joined by Stuart Easton. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
It's funny coming back here. The last time I was here was when I was about 11-year-old racing myself, and it sort of brings back memories. And Dom's out racing motocross this weekend, and I guess the first thing is you've both had a day racing. How are you both getting on?
I was about to say, well, it wasn't me. Sorry, I was racing, but it was your lad racing, wasn't it? So how's he got on? How's he got on?
Good day today, actually. He was 9th overall, which doesn't sound much, but it was a good field today. A good 40 bike, full lineup. Some really good national boys here, so he had a good day.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Is he aiming for the British as well this year?
Yeah, we did one. We done the first one, the Bridgestone one.
Yes, aye.
So that's his pretty much first national, really. So
his first one.
Yeah.
When did you first swing his leg onto a motorcycle then?
Oh, he's rode bikes since he was a little. As soon as he could ride one, really. But he with me racing, he never really had the chance to. She was a little bit of a late starter that way.
Yes, aye.
So yeah, that was pretty much his first national, really. So he did all right. He was good. He was getting towards the midfield, so battling away. It's good.
Oh, fantastic. And for those that maybe aren't like up to date, up to speed with the racing and stuff, Stuart was a top class short circuit racer and also an international road racer, and we'll get on all about your career and all the highs and the lows, but we'll very often talk about the sort of journey to get into racing. And do you want to just quickly, was it a family thing for you early days, or like what was the first steps to?
Yeah, well, we've went full circle now, because this is where I started, was schoolboy motocross, and I've always said that was like the best 10 years of my life, was the schoolboy motocross days. I really enjoyed it. Great childhood to have the opportunity to do it. And so we're here again with my son, full circle. But yeah, that's where it started for me, was motocross. And then coming from Hawick, Steve Hislop was the local hero. You know, I knew all about the road racing through following Steve, and my dad was a huge TT fan. Steve Hislop, he was into that. He used to go across and watch, still does in fact. So then we met a guy called Paul Bird at a motocross race.
just a bit of a name drop there, just like a bloke down the road.
Who at the time was, when I was a kid, he was a top motocross rider himself. He was like
Hold on, Paul Bird, the Paul Bird.
Yeah,
he was a motocross rider, was he?
Yeah.
Right, now, if he is listening to this, I do apologise, Paul, but when you look at his physique, it doesn't exactly scream motocross rider, does it? So that's actually a bit of a shock there.
He was really good, really top.
Really?
Yeah, he did Grand Prix, British Championship.
Jesus.
So he knew he knew of us from the racing in Cumbria a lot on the motocross scene. And I was doing pretty good, a front runner, and he was just starting to make his road racing team with John McGuinness, like 96 on he had the 250 team.
So Paul Bird stepped in. Sorry, we're going down the Paul Bird route here. Sorry, but so he started off with John McGuinness in 1996. I thought it was a bit further on than that. Did Paul ever go into tarmac himself, on the track?
No,
right, that's interesting.
He started at his team. When looking back, he must have only been quite young. Really, in 96, Paul must have been still in his 20s, really.
And he just thought, that's an incredible mindset, just to go, right, I'm going from top end like motocrossing to actually I'm just going to start a team on tarmac. Now, I did not know about that. Well, obviously, if you've listened to the show, I know Sweet FA, to be fair. So every time I speak to a guest, it's a nice eye opener. So you bumped into him in a motocross track, and how did that go? Like, what was the next step from there?
I can remember him just saying, you're quite handy at motocross, and your size and stature. Have you ever fancied having a go on a road race bike? And I was like, yeah, I have. Following Steve and that, and and he arranged for me to get a shot on a bike at Three Sisters.
Never.
Yeah.
Pretty much like motocross.
That's where the debut was, at Three Sisters. And
at what age was this then?
15.
15?
15. Yeah.
Right. Bloody hell, straight in the tarmac at 15 then. There we go.
I was running like top 5 in the British 100cc it was at the time.
Yeah.
That long ago. And so we went to Three Sisters, had a go on it. They said I went all right, but I don't think I did. But I think Paul just sort of was like, go and do it, and if you can serve your apprenticeship, and if you do okay, we'll take it from there. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that? Was that offer was straight off the bat? Was like, right, come with me. There's a bike provided, tires provided, straight up. I tell you what, you must have left a hell of an impression on the motocross to have that opportunity, because yourself growing up in this both motocross and the tarmac scene. Those opportunities are it's a lottery ticket, and you've made the most of it. My God, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was Mark Burr's bike that we borrowed for a go on it. So me and my dad took the motocross van. We got Aprilia 125 and did the Aprilia challenge.
Mm-hmm. And like from reading people's books and speaking to people on the show and stuff, there's a lot of top road racers, tarmac racers, that when they were growing up that had aspirations to be like sort of in MX1 and racing motocross, like Supercross and whatever. Was it sort of Steve Hislop that sort of changed that focus from the dirt, and that sort of opened your eyes to the road racing side of things?
I think so. I think it was, but I think it's probably one of my downfalls is I've never really had a good plan and a good vision. I've just kind of
winged it.
Just kind of done what came up, and Paul suggested it. I was like, I'll have a shot. And then one thing went to another, and it was never a big master plan, but I never had a big plan through any of it, which is probably a...
Can you remember your dad's reaction to that? Obviously being a TT tarmac fan his entire life, and then this opportunity. Can you remember his reaction?
He's never really pushed me in any way.
Really?
From motocross, he was always the dad that just stood there with his arms folded at the side of the track, and
true Scotsman.
Rarely, if I never tried or had a stinker of a day, he'd get a bit het up. But
have you inherited that calm composure?
Nah.
Are you full on racer dad?
I'm a moto dad.
Oh yeah.
No,
you said it now. It's official.
I try my absolute best not to be.
Bit more passionate than your dad.
Aye.
Yeah.
So he's a quick so with your dad and everything like that. That is brilliant. That is the most honest answer we've had of that motocross. Because like Sugar Tits, Craig, that he gets proper high end about that question. No, motocross dad. Yeah. He's a motocross dad at times, but it's nice to have an honest answer.
It is difficult because you go through stages. You try your best to be calm and just like thumbs up, good job, and all that, and then it gets. Sometimes you get sucked in a bit and you get a bit competitive because that's what we are. We're racers, and you get competitive.
Have you ever packed the van early and gone home with your lad?
Once.
Yes, good man.
It was at Dunn's, a local race. Yeah.
Good man.
I do actually. You must have seen Mad Mark. No, the Mackenzies are doing. And when I see that, I was thinking. I wonder if people like sort of dads who have motocross lads find themselves doing stuff and then thinking, "Oh God, I sound like Mad Mark."
I know.
Almost
because you always get competitive, and you get like the racer in me.
Yeah.
You can't do it for them. That's the problem.
Yeah. It's a fine balance between having that passion, but you
have to just try and just guide them, and I'm learning. I'm getting there.
Do you go motocross, like since you packed in with the tarmac, when did you pack in? 2016. 2016. Did you decide like with your lad, you thought, I'll get a motocross bike and go riding with him? Is that what you're doing now?
That was pretty much the thing with me racing. He never really had the chance. He was riding.
Yeah.
But he never had the chance to take him racing every week or commit to it.
Yeah.
So when I finished, he pretty much started.
Oh, brilliant.
Has he got any dreams to get onto the tarmac himself? Is that
I don't know. I think that's his problem. He's a bit too much like me. He doesn't really have a plan, or he doesn't say
Well,
too much. But
At that age, a lot of it is you've just kind of got to enjoy it for what it is, and then if there's opportunities open up later on, then it maybe be a bit more serious.
Yeah.
But
this is a total random and there's no definitive answer to this, but does your son know who you are and what you've achieved and stuff? He'll know the results and stuff, but there's me, I totally fangirled. I dropped my pants when you walked up. I'm like, there's Stuart Easton, oh great to meet you, Macau Grand Prix lap record holder. And it's like, it's mental. When you grow up, your dad's your dad, isn't it?
just his old fat dad, don't know. Just he's not. He doesn't really.
do you know what?
care.
Who does he? Sorry, obviously you look up to you, but like, who's his hero, even off track? Has he got like an icon that he looks up to?
He's more motocross. You know, he'll be into the motocross guys. You know, he's doesn't really not bothered for road racing or anything at the minute. But yeah,
would you like him to go down the tarmacs?
I don't think now. I think nowadays, as much as I sort of hate to say it, I think you have to be more wealthy now, don't you?
Of course you do.
I think it's changed a lot since we did what we did in the late 90s, and things have changed. I think a fair bit. Maybe not, but
yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, to get the sponsors, you need to be that corporate image. You need to get up, step it up all the time, and that just takes more and more money, and that's the bottom line of it.
Yeah.
So from them early days, the introduction from Paul Bird onto the tarmac, was it a continued support for like a number of years from Paul, or was it kind of?
No, like you said, he said go and do your apprenticeship. So we did the Aprilia 125 challenge thing, learned the tracks in the first year, and there were some pretty good guys in it in the first year. James Ellison was one, and one that stands out.
What year was it that you did the Super Teens?
1998 was the first year.
So was that around? Did John McGuinness maybe just finish it the year before? Or
No.
that?
No, John was in the British 250s for a long. He was like British 250s from '94.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
So well
So
out
he was.
then.
I was still in the sort of novice junior challenge thing. But yeah, James Ellison was a name that I remember at that time.
Any other riders around that you were sort of with in the Super Teens that then went on to bigger and better things?
James and
Was Kev Coughlin around that time?
No, he's younger. Kev's a fair bit younger than me.
My favourite thing, all his competitors at that time, he'll be listening to this going, come on.
What about like
mention me,
Steve
son.
Brogan?
Yeah, Steve was a year before.
Right. Oh, so around that
He had
sort
just
of era.
moved on.
Mhm.
Brogy and
Chris Burns.
Yeah, they're all a bit before Cal Harris. They were all in the 96 time.
Right. Okay.
I was 98. So,
There we go.
and then 99, which was quite a good year. I was second in the championship. My crank snapped at this penultimate meeting, so we were kind of looking to possibly win it, and then we had a bit of a DNF there, so that scuppered that one. But Craig Jones was in that year, Chaz Davis, and
Casey.
No,
Oh, was that
he
the
was
year
year
after?
after. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
It's mad when you're thinking about all the names back then,
Yeah.
and when you go to like the British mini bikes and you see all the little kids winning, then some of them will be going on to sort of MotoGP and World Superbikes, but it's it is great. No.
Have you been keeping an eye on the MotoGP? Do you follow the BSB still? Do you?
Not so much since I used to always follow Cal Crutchlow. I used to always follow when he was doing it. I've watched the highlights of the last couple of races. But more so BSB.
Mhm.
I like to watch that.
Yeah, it's obviously I'm biased because I'm sort of involved in the paddock, but just in terms of the racing, for me, you can't beat BSB.
I don't think you can. No, for a day's race watching, it's good.
Mhm.
All the classes are really good to watch.
We normally leave these questions towards the end, but who's your championship favourite then for BSB?
It's too open, isn't it? Come
on, give us a name.
Look at last year. There could have been 4 guys could have won.
Jesus, it was a hell of a year. Wasn't it?
4 people went into the last meeting. So, I'd like to see Christian Idden. I'd like to see him have a good year.
Yeah.
I think he deserves it. He's somebody that's worked hard for a long time.
He
He's
has,
had a lot of injuries and just setbacks. And
I thought he had a fabulous year last year.
Mega year.
He finished, was it third?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was third. Paul's kept him on board for this year, so he's definitely got the minerals.
He deserves it. to have a shot. You know.
So after you'd done your apprenticeship, what was from Super Teens, which is production? Was it a 125 still then?
Yep.
Yeah. From a production bike, usually the step is to then go to BSB on the like proper GP 125s. Is that the step that you took?
We did. Yeah, that was when we did a deal with Paul Ward to ride the 125 Honda. It was me in a 125. John McGuinness was on the 250, and James Tosland was on the superbike.
Jesus, that's a big team
for Paul. Yeah.
How did the season progress?
I had a good year. For me, started off sort of 8th, 7th, and progressed through the year, and I won the final round and got 3rd in the championship.
And how did John get on that year? What was John like on your first meeting of him? Because obviously you and John are really good friends, and you have really good banter, like take the piss out of each other on Twitter. What was your first opinion of John when you first met him?
He was easy to get on with quite easily. You know, he doesn't really change for anybody.
Aye.
You know? Some young kid that's just sort of just tagging on his coattails sort of thing and tagging along. He just kind of welcomes you in, really. Good with advice, John, as well. You know, he's always been one to give advice.
Aye.
You know,
because John's always been biased towards the roadside.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of my heroes I've always looked up to. But even going back a little bit further, when was the first time you met Steve Hislop, being your the local hero of Hoyk and being your icon? You know, when was the first time you met him?
Well, it was. I think I met him when I was a really little kid motocrossing.
Aye.
And
did he do motocrossing?
No, just he had a little bit when he was training. He'd ride a little bit.
Right. Did he go down the schoolboy route?
I think he did. He did a little bit.
It's always been that natural progression. We were just talking beforehand how it normally you start off in the dirt and then you go on to the tarmac. Unfortunately, I've done it the other way, as you've seen from my shite riding today. So I'm changing all my jersey bike colours tomorrow, so you can't see us. I swear to God. There we go. So, but so he was just practicing. You met him.
I barely remember it, but I'm maybe on a little 60, and he was practicing on a Honda that he probably got off Honda Britain. And I remember being at the local track, and my dad was like, "That's Steve Hislop," and I was like, "I don't know, he's not very good." on the dirt bike.
I'm gonna have him, but
and then never really, because he lived in Isle of Man.
Really?
From 1989 onwards, didn't he?
Right.
So I never really
tax dodging.
Never really met him or knew him. And then in 2001, the following year after that 125 year, Paul quickly moved me up on a 250, which I wanted to stay on the 125, but Paul said, "No, we're going to put you on a 250 straight away."
So why did you want to stay on the 125 at that point?
Because I wanted to win the
right, because the crank went, yes, No, I was got my ears mixed up there.
This is on the British 125 GP bike. Mm-hmm. So it was my first year on a proper race bike, and I managed to get 3rd, and I thought I wanted to stay in it and try and win it. Mm-hmm. But Paul wanted to put me on a 250, and so again it was like a steady start on the 250, because they were quite hard to ride 250s. Mm-hmm. Quite you never really knew where you were on it. There's a bit of the 125 was quite easy. You could kind of just rail it, and it was quite easy.
That's interesting, because
but the 250 was they could bite.
You have to be on your mettle.
And it was like grip, nothing. You never got much back off a 250.
Was the 250 back then? Was the 250 the second class? So did you have your main class and then 250?
By that 01 time, it was probably Super Sport was probably taken over from the 250s, because that was the last year of the 250. Right. I ended up scrapping it after that.
Mm-hmm. Right. You can tell you started young on tarmac when you're talking about this here, because you're talking. 250s. You literally.
I caught the end of the 250s.
Yeah.
And I finished 4th in the championship. But the top 3 was ex-GP guys: Darren Barton, Shane Norval, and Adrian Coates.
Bloody hell.
So they're all guys that were seasoned
connoisseurs of 250s.
Seasoned 250 guys that had done Grand Prix and Euros and all that. So they were quite a tough school to try and race with. But come the end of the season, I was getting strong results. One race, I think, that year.
And in hindsight, looking back on that decision to jump up to the 250, we were speaking the other day. Our friend little Hayden is on that borderline between a 65 and 85, and he had the sort of opportunity to either challenge for the 65 championship or step up sort of early, like the earliest opportunity, go up to an 85 and accept the fact he probably won't be winning, but you know, he's learning quicker, similar to the 125 to 250 jump. In hindsight, do you wish you'd stayed on the 125 and sort of challenged for the championship? Or?
Maybe, but I don't know. It's just
You
whatever
can't
comes, you
change
know.
it,
As
no.
Paul made the decision. It was his bike, you know. So I was lucky just to be able to ride it.
And did you then stay in 250s?
No.
Oh, sorry, it was the last year of the 250s.
So then Paul then put me on a super sport bike, which was a 748 Ducati, which was probably the best bike I've ever ridden.
Really?
It was an awesome bike. Yeah. It was a bit long in the tooth at that time, the bike, but the team got the best out of it. Probably, like, the bike was probably like a factory Ducati.
So was that the love affair for Paul Bird at that point? Was that the first time you got a Ducati out there and you were on it? Is that correct?
Well, Steve Hislop was my teammate.
Of course.
He did the superbike, and I did the 250.
Yes.
And then I went super sport, he went superbike.
Got you.
And that was the year where Steve won the superbike and I won super sport.
My God.
Oh, so two Hoyt guys.
Fantastic.
That
Yeah.
that is outstanding.
Who were you battling with?
It's that long ago. I'm trying to think. Scott Smart was second. Smarty. Michael Laverty was third. I think Ben Wilson, maybe.
Scott Smart's very involved with World Superbikes now, isn't he? It's a director for it's like the technical rules, so like sort of balancing out. We often talk about how they balance like the different CCs and stuff, and he's kind of like the brains behind for World Superbikes. So he still has a very influential role in the paddock. And when I was growing up, he was one of my favourite riders actually on it was the Hawk Kawasaki back then.
They were beautiful then.
So from winning the Supersport Championship, was it straight up to Superbike?
No, then we stayed on the same bike for the next year, running the number 1 plate, and Mr. Carl Harris came back to Supersport from Superbike, riding for Honda Britain, and he won that year. I never had the sort of measure of him that year. I won 3 races, but yeah, I think Carl was pretty convincing champion that year. Yeah, I was second that year.
I tell you what, I've just realised I totally interrupted you about the Steve Hislop side of it. Like when you first met him, so you had when he was on dirt, you said he was just rubbish. So when was like the first time you met him, like properly?
Well, that was what I was going to say.
Sorry,
we went to Spain testing in 01, and we went to the hotel, and I flew in with the team, and Hizzy made his own arrangements to get there, and we were sat in the hotel, this restaurant bit, and he came in, and I was like, there's my teammate Steve Hislop. I was like, bloody hell, it was
starstruck.
Yeah, it was good. And he was just like totally normal, just having the crack.
Was Steve was he a good mentor for you?
Really,
those
really
sort
good.
of days.
Really good. Yeah, I think he really tried to help me a lot, you know, just because we're from Hoyk and
when you think if anyone's ever been to Hoyk or even Google Earth it's a tiny place just literally off the English border. That is two serious talents. There's something in the water in Hoyk.
And that was the 02 we won the two titles. You know, it was a bit of a fairy tale, really. At the time, I never even thought that much of it at the time. But so looking back now, it was a good year.
And you're probably in the perfect position actually to answer this question. Obviously, with phasing out the 250s and the 2-strokes, and then the sort of super sport class 4-strokes taking over as the sort of middle class. Obviously, you ran at the front of both championships. Do you have a particular? Are you pleased that it went sort of 4-stroke and super sport, or do you miss the 250s, or like what's your take on it?
I don't know. I think they're both good to ride. If you get a 250 and you get the most out of it on the day, it's pretty good. You know, they're lovely little bikes. They're race bikes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas super sport bikes are road bikes made into race bikes.
Yes,
you can't beat the proper race bikes that are made for the job.
You're like a perfect size for a 250 rider as well, aren't you? Was there ever an opportunity to go to MotoGP 250 Grand Prix 250s?
There was a couple, but nothing that was. I think Paul looked after me at that time and steered me away from it. And I think probably for what we could have maybe went and done, it would have been. It wouldn't have been the best thing for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the time I was like, oh, look, Grand Prix, but I think he knew he had the right decision, you know, because he knew that it would have been a waste of time.
Aye,
you know? Not
without doing, like, if you don't put 100% effort in, it's not worth doing, isn't it? So that, no,
you have to
totally
be on the right kit, don't you?
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So, now, with Steve Hislop being your icon, when did the roads situation develop in your mind? So you've gone from schoolboy into BSB, and you've gone to the BSB, and you stepped it up progressively. Was roads ever in your mind, or
no?
No,
not really. I watched it, loved it. Like my dad went to the Isle of Man to watch in '98, so I watched it and that, but never really.
You never sat on the verge and thought, I need to have a go at this. Was that never?
I did, but I just kind of did what came up and never really pushed for anything, or just kind of rode what I could get my hands on, really.
Yeah.
You know, and but the Macau thing, that was quite a funny story how that happened. 2002, teammates to Hizzy, and McGuinness had a good relationship with Paul Bird, and we're all mates, and they were like, oh, Macau at the end of the year, Macau in November. And they were like, I was like, what, you get to race your bike in November, in the middle of the winter? I was like, I want to go there. Can I race there? Never even knew. There was no YouTube, there was no videos of it, nothing.
So you were totally unaware of what?
I never had a clue. I must have been a bit thick and a bit green, but I just wanted to race in the winter.
Were you aware that it was a street?
I never knew.
You just thought it was like a track with runoff?
And I was told Hizzy and that, and he was like, oh yeah, you'll enjoy that, it's a good holiday. And McGuinness was saying the same, and so managed to get an entry. Mike Trimby let me in as like a 19-year-old, youngest ever.
I was about to say, that
entry.
has to be the youngest entry.
So they've kind of begrudgingly let me in, and I managed to get there, and we flew there, got off, and then on the boat and everything, got to the ferry terminal where the pits is,
so,
right where the pits are.
Hold on. So a 19-year-old from Hoyt, where's the furthest you've been up to this point? I bet it was Scarborough.
Well, we never did any holidays because we were always at motocross meetings my whole youth. So we never did it like any. Probably that was my first flight to Hong Kong.
Just a 13-hour flight, so off you go.
And I said to McGuinness, I said, "Where's the track?" He said, "That's it there." And I was like, "What?" And in the Armco barriers, and they're like the black and yellow barriers, and I was laughed. I was like, "No, but where's the circuit?" He said, "That's it. That's the track."
What was?
I bet Macau was a hell of an education in more ways than one. I'm not sure. Are you a married man or?
Yeah.
He's a man.
I was going to say I don't think there's going to be. We probably can't elaborate much on that.
19-year-old Stuart Easton there, but
it was like.
Was that
so stupid?
Was that your first road race?
Yeah, Macau.
Your 19.
Yeah, and the same thing. I spoke to Josh Waters. The same thing happened to Josh Waters. He was in Australia, and he was like, "Oh, a Grand Prix! I'm getting the chance to race a Grand Prix." He thought it was a GP Grand Prix, so he went there, and he had the same thing. He got there, and it was like a Armco lined street race.
Jesus!
Talk me through your first lap, because I think you are 100% right. I've done it twice, and I had the liberty of YouTube and stuff like, I could watch onboards, Hickman, everyone going around. I must have spent weeks upon weeks learning how to be blunt, survive the track. So your first lap must have been.
I was young, I was confident, I was 19. I just won that British Championship, so I was a bit
the man.
confident. So I was like, well, I can be like.
Let's have it.
I can be like McGuinness and his Yamaha road racer. And,
sorry, what bike did they put you on for this?
The 748.
748 around
it was the Super Sport race was a race within a race then.
Aye.
And so off we went. Anyway, old McGuinness gave me some good tips up the top end, all the twisty stuff. He was like, slow chicane, fast chicane, slow chicane.
Yeah.
And that was a good bit of advice to learn the track. And a couple of sessions, I knew where I was roughly going. And then I remember in qualifying, I got a bit cocky and a bit confident, and I seen John touring. McGuinness was having an in lap, and I was like, I'm gonna go absolutely. I'm gonna send it into here and show him, like,
I'm the man. Aye.
And I went in, and I was like, lost the front, crashed.
Which corner?
The long left before the tight hairpin. And a wall of death, the barrier, and then spun up the road. And
holy shit!
And John stopped. And he was like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah." Embarrassed him, and he went, "You wanker," like that, and rode off. And that was it.
What did Paul say? Like,
they were a bit sort of like edgy.
I bet
like,
they
we
were.
had to bend over backwards to get me an entry, saying he's a good lad, he's safe, he's level-headed. And then I went and crashed.
Because that attitude is still to this day. You know what I mean? They want fast lads, but you know what I mean? You've got to build them to it.
Invite only, isn't it?
Because we were just having a bit of crack about it before, like, you know, the old army humour, because he's he's a Morecambe lad. He's got that dry sense of humour. I can imagine him going in, going, "What a dick!" Just for the crack kind of thing. My God.
And how did you get on in the race?
In the race, yeah.
Well, the race I was racing with Nigel Cap Davis. Remember that guy, the Welshman, big guy, TT racer.
I've heard the name.
Nigel Cap Davis. And he kept blasting me on the straight, and then I was getting under his feet in the twisty stuff, and then he kept blasting me. I had a right good fun race with Nigel Cap Davis, and I was loving it because he was a TT racer. And I thought, I'm battling with road racers.
My God! So, like, let's be honest, right? So you've got off the boat. You've looked at it and gone, "Holy shit! Yeah, I'm in the deep end. I'm not going home because I don't want to be called the soft shite." That'll be the mentality. But at any point, did you think, like, you know, I don't want to do this, or was it, I really want to do all of this now? You know, like the whole scene.
I never thought really.
You are the most laid back I've ever met. You're like,
never thought. But I did the super sport thing. Cameron Donald was on a super sport bike as well.
At the Macau?
Yeah.
Right.
Cam was on a Yamaha, and he was on for some Chinese team. So to be fair to him, his bike was a bit shit. And I beat Cam for the super sport win. And so I got a big trophy and super sport win, blah, blah, blah.
First time there, 19-year-old, everything.
Yeah. And obviously Macau became a very
regular.
A regular and a very successful place for yourself. Yeah. How many years did you end up going for?
I think I missed 2 or 3 over the years with injuries and whatever else, but mainly injuries.
Mm-hmm. And what's your sort of stats at Macau like?
I can remember I went back that following year, 2003, and that was my superbike debut. Was in Macau. First ever superbike race was in Macau as well. Yeah.
But you like jumping in the deep end, son, don't you? You know what I mean?
So debuted a
no
998
track. No track. Like, did you have any testing?
Nope. Straight in.
Who came up with that idea?
I don't know.
That is mint, mate. You would like
straight in, and I did all right. I did okay because it's kind of track where it's not like a BSB race, so it was quite a good place to.
It's a sensible place to go learn a superbike.
To get a weekend on one, and finished 5th in the race.
You're joking.
Yeah, I got 5th, and then I went back in 2004, and I got 3rd, podiumed, where Rutter won it, Michael won, and John was 2nd, and then me.
My God.
But that was the year 2004 when I felt out of my depth. I was just a bit. I was trying to keep up with John and Michael, and they're kind of seasoned superbike kind of.
Like road racers.
Yeah.
Right. That's
and I was
interesting.
just kind of puffing and panting a little bit out of my depth.
Bloody hell. Felt
a bit sketchy.
When did you first win at Macau come?
08.
2008.
Yeah,
when did you set the lap record that still holds today?
2010.
2010. Now we were having a little bit of crack outside and stuff like that, and I remember flicking on the telly, and I can't remember what year it was, but you're on the Poor Bird Kawasaki, and I remember sitting there with my father late on at night, and I think it got to like lap 4 or 5 or something like that, and my dad just got up and went, well, he's won that, I'm off to bed. And the race hasn't finished at this point, huge mega laps, and the gap just went from there to there and it just got bigger and bigger. And it was, mate, like every other racer will agree with me when I say this, it was embarrassing for everyone else. It was outstanding, that race.
That was 2014.
14, right.
And I think that year I was 7th in BSB, so it was I missed the showdown. I was 7th overall.
Yeah.
And I was riding pretty decent.
Yes.
So we took the BSB bike there, and it makes a difference, that, doesn't it? If you've rode BSB to 7th-ish, that kind of area, and then to go there, you pick up the ball pretty easy there.
Bloody hell.
And it was my bike. A lot of guys go there on different bikes, don't they? And so I went with my bike and just it felt nice.
You see, sorry, Grizzy. I just joined Twitter at that point, and one of my favourite tweets was McGuinness, and you were absolutely spacking off your face on drink, and you got the trophy in your arms, and McGuinness is tucking you in. It was like King of Macau, and it stuck in my head. That was like one of the first tweets I've ever seen. I just thought, that's what it's about. That's what you're going to do.
I've had some big drinks over there. Yeah.
Do you know in 2008 when for your first win, what bike was that on?
That was Sean Muir's Honda. It was a Doosan sponsored bike, orange bike, Doosan Diggers.
Dude, that's it. I was trying to remember why.
Sean got a one-off thing for Macau. And Guy Martin was my teammate.
How did you find Guy as a team?
Well, it's just Guy's guy, isn't he? He's just like he's all right. He's good. Just never really. You can't shut him up, can you? But he was just
Guy,
rabbiting on, right?
Just straight up Guy. Yeah. So you've done the Macau, you've done debut superbike out there. You've like, wow, you've got the lap record and everything like that. So when did that transition? Think, well, let's go do the Northwest then. How did that come about for you?
So Macau was 02, the first year, and then 04, I went to the Northwest.
Right.
And my first year there was a shambles. I had a big tire delamination. I was like one of the only guys on Dunlops, and it was
really
a full delamination. Yeah.
Jesus, whereabouts on the circuit was that then?
Into Metropole.
Shut up, man.
Yeah. As soon as it hit the bumpy bit, it
just came off the. Jesus,
the
wet.
whole lot, yeah.
How fast? Roughly how fast?
I don't know what. Got to be 180, isn't it?
It's got to be full. Like you're talking full stretch cables there.
Did you just go straight down the road rather than lucky not to bounce off?
Just a load of big flapping at the back.
Is this it? I distinctly remember we're both sponsored by the North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club, and that's where me and Dom actually met. And I remember you coming years ago, and it's one of my favourite stories ever at the club. I remember it, I still remember it to this day, laughing about
He's
it.
He's getting nervous. He's like, what did
no,
I
no.
say?
Is this the crash where Norman was stood? Burgess was stood over.
No, that was years later. That was that big crash in 2011.
DL. So you've had two big ones at the Northwest.
No, I never crashed that tire thing.
Bloody hell.
That managed to get through that.
So you've had one, like, have you only had one big road race crash then? Or and
Just
that was
one.
it? So talk us through it then. Go on.
Just a bad, wrong place, wrong time thing, and it was Thursday practice, and there was me, Gary Mason, who was a newcomer, my teammate, and the two Ducatis, Michael Rutter and Martin Jessup, and so we all took off. And I've always been one just to kind of just cruise away. It's practice. You We got all
week, aye.
Aye, all night and stuff, and I just sort of cruised away behind them, and I nearly passed Gary into York, and I thought, there's no point stressing, I'll just slipstream him on the big straight.
Yeah.
Got through Mill Road and I was slipstreaming him, and up through past the filling station, and he had some kind of bike cut out or something. The bike just stopped, and I was like, whoa, just clipped him at the back and went like, I don't remember anything after that.
Was this
Jesus
like
wept.
a similar sort of speed to the other one, like sort of?
But I
The
think
tyre went.
no, I think it was like 4th, ready for 5th, probably 140, 150.
Was this MS? We on the MSS?
Is that before?
bike?
That's before stage. No.
Yeah,
I'm
before
trying to remember.
station.
Before
Just before
station. Now
station,
station is fully even on a superbike. You just
Yeah. Well, it was a bit further. It was
coming just before it drops down
Aye.
the hill again. That is
Yeah.
just. I don't get. That's still howling on that mind.
So it was just a lot of luck involved.
Aye.
A lot of luck. I mean, I shattered my pelvis,
Ooh.
broke my femurs.
Both of them. You still got any metal work? Was it metal
Still
work?
got a rod in my femur.
Jesus
One.
wept.
And screws in the pelvis. A
Giving you much bother now, like, or?
little bit achy.
I bet it is so
Little
nice.
bit and then I ruptured my bowel, and loads of internal bleeding, and like that was a big deal.
Tell Dom the Norman bit.
Ah,
So-
come on, Howie.
So for anybody that knows Norman, he's a joker.
Do you know Norman from Silk Lean?
I don't
He's
actually.
like he's Paul's left hand,
Aye.
right hand man, and he's
Aye.
always like, goes in his helicopter and stuff with him, and they're like
Yeah.
best mate. They get on the source together.
So he's marshalling at the Mill Road, red flagged because of me. I'm lying in the road, and I can remember patchy bits, and I remember lying in the road, and Norman lifted my visor up, and he says, "Oh, it's you," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Norman," like a bit delirious, like, "What the hell? Why is Norman here?"
Aye.
And I knew I was in a bad way. I knew I'd had a big crash, and it goes back to when Hutchie had his crash, and he said, if you're ever smashed to bits, he says when he smashed his leg up, he says I was screaming for morphine, and he said, the medic guy said, I'll give you something better than that, and he gave him Special K, which is ketamine, but the medics call it Special K.
Shut up, man.
So he says, so he got Special K, and he says, if you're ever smashed to bits, ask for Special K. That's the stuff. So it must have went into my brain, and I'm lying in the road, smashed to bits, and I was like, Norman, Special K, get Special K, and he was like, what? I was like, get Special K, and then the guy on the bike came, the medic, the real medic came, and Norman said, I think he's a bit delirious. He wants cereal. And I'm like, flipping hell, Norman.
Do you want full fat milk or semi-skimmed,
Aye.
son?
I can barely remember it, but I'm screaming.
Special K.
Special K, Special K. And he was trying to keep his calm, and he says, I'm going to go across to that house and get you some cereal, alright? try to keep his calm.
That's so funny. Bloody hell. And
Man. And then the next thing,
If we ever get you on as a return guest, you know what's going to appear, don't you? There you go.
then my leathers got cut open and injected. Special K.
Jeez.
That was it. I woke up in Belfast Hospital 3 days later. Yeah.
Jesus.
that must have been the
wept.
biggest injury you've ever had, is it? Biggest crash.
Did it leave a sour, taste in your mouth, thinking fuck road racing, or was it?
No, it's just an incident that you can't blame anybody. I've always said, like, it's probably my old mate John McGuinness says, if you race bikes long enough, a throttle's gonna stick, a brake's gonna fail. It's mechanical things. It's a bike, isn't it?
Yes, aye.
Things. It's sad, isn't it? But so things happen, don't they?
Yeah.
If you play with fire.
And that's like for me, it's part of that. You don't wish it. No, you know what I mean. You really don't want that. No rider, no. Nothing. No, but
Everybody does their best to avoid it.
I 100% agree.
But sometimes
sometimes it happens, but that little bit of pot for me, I'm speaking me, I don't want to drag anyone else in it, but it's that little bit of buzz about the whole motorcycling period. You know, it's dangerous, it's adrenalizing, anything could happen, and it's, you know, it's part of, for me, it's part of it.
It is. It's horrible to say. Like, I just thought what I've just said there, and it's like, ugh.
No, it's right though. No,
But,
it's not horrible. It is fact part of the game, isn't it? You know,
I think
mechanicals happen.
I think for a lot of people and just life in general, you might look at someone, say, jumping off. No, those things where you jump off the top of cliffs with the suits on and you're skimming the rocks. Some people just do not get that at all and think, why on earth would you do that? But there's some people in life like to get as close as they possibly can to death and then just pull away at the last minute, and it's the kick that they get from that, and in some respects I think that's an attribute that a lot of bike races and especially road races probably thrive off. And it's one of those things like, why would you possibly want to race bikes if you can just sit and be safe all your life? But that's kind of not what life's about, is it?
I always say that story. The year before, and I finished second in this feature race, Alistair Seeley won. Beat me at like Church Corner last lap. He was great on the coast road. Alistair, he beat me, and that was that. But anyway, got a nice second place, and got my start money, prize money, checks for all the races, which you go and collect at the porter cabin. Off to the anchor bar. Big knees up, and then I was driving my hire car along the circuit the next day to the airport, and I'm driving along, I'm thinking, got my checks in my pocket, great night with your mates, like you're driving on that road at 60, and you're like, we've done 205 on this yesterday. It's cool. It was like, that's a good feeling that's what we do it for.
Definitely.
And then that was the biggest buzz ever, and then a year later you're on the other side of the coin, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you miss massive highs and massive lows, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you miss it?
I don't. Nah, I never miss it. But I raced from when I was 5 till 33, so I think I had my fill.
Kind of tick the boxes, and
At the end, when I was in BSB, I was, you're looking at the bike and you're trying this, trying that. And I think at the end you have to look at yourself a bit,
Just it's interesting because we were talking about talent, like, naturally talented, hard work and people and everything like that, but it's like mad when you think Michael Rutter and John McGuinness, Rutter's nearly 40. He's 49 now, isn't he? 49. And like what we meet, like, it was only a couple of years ago he was battling at the front of Stock 1000. Is that right? That was right, and it's surreal, isn't it? And it's like you say, I think it's important that people know. It's like when you know you want to stop, that's the time to stop, and that's right.
You do get the odd freak like them, don't you? But
what was your record around the Northwest site in terms of wins and podiums and things like that?
Oh, not that good. Not that. I never did many years, and I finished 4th on a 600 once, 2nd on the superbike. I think a 5th or something here and there, but I always went unprepared. I always went with like one bike, like super sport only or super bike only. And then all the guys that I've got full stable of bikes,
track time,
doing all the races and everything. I maybe do the first race, and then sit the whole day
in the anchor,
waiting for the feature race. And they're coming off their
track time in it. Now, what's a lot of people that we speak to are happy doing the Northwest or Northwest in Macau, but don't take that step to the TT. Obviously, I presume you'll have had plenty of offers over the years to do the TT. Did you? What?
Well, I never really got like any offers, but it's kind of place like nobody really wants to take a newcomer, do they? Because you got to go and kind of learn it, haven't you? And
do your apprenticeship again.
Exactly. I would say.
Did you ever come close?
I did come close, and I think it was like 08. Spoke to Paul Phillips, and it was like pretty. I was showing a lot of interest, and he was too. And then at the end of 08, I got that Macau ride with Sean Muir, and I won Macau, and then he put me on the bike for the following year, and then we had a great year. You know, it was just like one of them. Everything just worked good. The team was mega. The bike was good, and like everything worked really well. And ended up having my best BSB year ever that year. And then it kind of just steered me away again towards BSB.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of.
You got the drive back, got the focus back onto one task. Because all these stories have the same thing. You're like one task at a time, and you've got to respect that, if you know what I mean. So you focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's a good attitude.
Obviously, we've spoke about Macau quite a lot, but just before we move on, do you have any suitable Macau stories that sort of spring to mind that you can?
I'm trying to think. Every year we always used to have a thing where the car racers and the bike racers and that they do that thing, don't they? Like a PR thing.
Aye.
And it always ended up in like the bike racers being a bunch of clowns. And,
Aye, totally.
I can't remember what.
They split the hotels now, you know. You know, I used to share a hotel. Oh no, like we stay at the Harbour View, and they stay at like another one that we're not even allowed to mix anymore. Man.
It was always Hutchie. Hutchie was always the troublemaker.
Really?
He's the like Jekyll and Hyde Hutchie. He's probably a bit.
Shut up, man.
He's probably got more serious and mature as the years have went on. But then, like 06, 07, 08 and that, he was wild with a drink.
Really?
Aye, Hutchie.
That's just a bit of a shock, because the thing is on the telly and stuff,
Oh,
he's just that quiet, hello,
like
I'm Hutchie and everything.
He's like a mouse when he's on the TV. But get him
really
tanked up with like McGuinness winding him up. And
that's good to hear.
And
that is good to hear.
I remember we were in a nightclub and there was a Dutch F3 racer with a long hair and that, and these fancy bottoms, and he thought he was the bee's knees, and he had his girlfriend on his arm and that, and Hutchie was like, look at that car racing wanker. And he went up behind him with his little fancy bottoms and he just whipped them down. And the guy was furious. I thought he was going to chin him.
Oh, that would have been mint to see that.
Things like that.
Because how old is Hutchie now? That's an interesting. You know when you're talking about there's like that odd exception, like the Rutter and McGuinness kind of thing. But Hutchie, how old is Hutchie?
I think he's just 40.
Just 40. There you are. It's mad. Because what are Hutchie's plans? Do you know?
It hasn't been announced yet. I do know what he's doing, but it's leave that for him to announce.
But he's back on a bike though next year. That's good, because people don't know what they're doing, do they? So, and is John definitely on for Bournemouth next year?
To do what though?
Well, no, I'm just So is that contract? Because everyone's just gone quiet, haven't they, with the whole COVID thing? So how did your COVID go? Your lockdown situation? Have you set up any businesses?
No, well, I've always been hands-on with the car garage. Me and my dad.
All right.
Yeah, my dad's had the car garage for forever, since I was like a nipper. But so I've always, been there.
Yeah.
Some years less than others, depending on how racing's going.
Come back from the northwest with your northwest checks, Dad. I'm off for 6 weeks.
I bet you never said anything about the checks. Did you get paid, son? No, they've kept the money. They've kept the money.
But he's never really liked it. He's never really liked it if I've been, he never liked me to be idle. Not.
Oh God, aye.
He's a grafter. He's old school, so
that's mint.
He likes me to keep. I never had the balls to do it, but whenever I won a BSB race, and then on the Monday morning when I'm like dropping the oil out of a Ford Focus or something like that, I've always wanted to take a picture and tweet it, but I never had the balls to do it. I thought I'll make myself look like an idiot.
Wait, no, that would have been
back to reality.
Yeah,
back to reality. It is a bit of an odd. I mean, like for you, going to TT, Macau, and things like that, and even just racing, BSB and super stock, you do go from doing something so like fast and adrenaline, and there's loads of fans there, and especially for the likes of yourself, where being, like I say, winning BSB racing, you're a hero in front of 50,000-60,000 fans, like thousands of people watching on TV, loads of people screaming for your autograph, and then 9 o'clock the next morning you're on your hands, and it's like a parallel universe, isn't it? Which doesn't sort of happen in lots of other sports.
No.
But sorry, I just wanted to quickly ask, when you're going through your career, obviously Paul Bird got you onto the tarmac and then you went all the way through to Superbike. what was the story like? How did you part ways?
Probably me thinking I knew better. I probably I rode for Paul for 125, 250 super sport again, and then we stayed on the super bike for the super sport bike for that second year, and I was itching to ride a super bike, and Paul was like, "No, there's a new Ducati 749 coming. I want you to ride it," and he offered me a really nice deal, a good little package, and I was like, "I want to be on super bikes. I want to ride a super bike," and I was like 22, and I was like itching to be desperate to be on a super bike, and I said, I've been first, I've been second in super sport. I was like, if I stay in it, what we're gonna achieve? And he was like, trust me, you need to stay super sport. You're not ready yet. And then I thought I knew better. Got a super bike offer of ETI Ducati, and I thought, sod it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Thought I knew what was playing at, and then when I left Paul's team, I think it's the first time I'd ever rode for another team. They were a little bit more pressure, you know what I mean? Not that there wasn't pressure in Paul's team, because Paul's
he's a grafter, aye.
He's a winner. Do you know what I mean? So
aye.
But it's just different. Just a different.
You've left that homely feel that you've grown up with, and the
guy that I knew that I was since I was a motocross kid and that, and so then I put myself in this position, and I did actually briefly did good. Qualified 5th at Silverstone in 2004, and I was like, whoa, this is easy. I thought this is like, put a qualifier in, and when I put a qualifier in the 998 Ducati, it just felt like a super sport bike that went faster.
Aye.
And I just did my thing, and I was 5th on the grid with Kagayama, John Reynolds, Sean Emmett, all these older guys, and I was like, this is easy. I was like, I'm gonna be winning this before long. Just
stepping on confidence here.
I just don't know what I was thinking. So I got an 11th in the race 1. It was a bit wet, and then I got 7th in race 2. So 7th in the points, and I thought, I can smash this. Went to Brands Indy and put another qualifier in. I was like, I love these qualifiers. It makes the bike feel like a super sport bike, like that. Just it through bottom bend, gave it a 0 to 100% on the qualifier, and it just went high sided, massive high side, and landed on my arm.
Oh.
And the bike came on top and dragged it up the road, and I got a big old skin graft on there. So my arm was bad. It's
proper chung out the job.
Big skin graft.
Now, did you say ETI Ducati? I'm not familiar with that. Who is it?
That's a long time ago now. Alistair Flanagan was the guy's name. Electrac Installation was the team. So it was a sort of millionaire guy that set his team up.
And
it would have been a happy bunny that you fell and burnt your arm off and then wrote off his bike.
Nah. So that was a introduction to super bikes, what they're really like, and I was like, ooh, that kind of knocked me a bit, and that was my first real knock ever, really, first injury.
Right.
At that point, ever since then I got loads.
You got the ball rolling,
and then go through your career. So from the ETI Ducati, it was that in 2004, did you say? And then 2005.
So 2004, I never lasted the season with them. That kind of just fizzled away.
Aye.
And John Hackett from Ducati Coventry. John's a Ducati sort of legend, isn't he? JHP tuning, Ducati dealership and everything, and been in racing for a long time. And I knew his son Rick from Super Teens. Rick Hackett was in Super Teens, and John threw me a lifeline to go back on a super sport bike. So confidence was like on the floor, big struggle, and I think I had a couple of dismal rounds back on the super sport bike, and then chipped away, and I got like one podium at the end. And then for the following year, for 06, Martin Jessop's dad Phil amalgamated Riders JHP. So it was like Martin, Jessop and me for the next year.
Yeah.
And then another bad decision on my part. I think I was second in the points. I think I won the first round, leading early doors. I was second in the points, and I got a call from an Italian team to do the World Supersport round at Monza.
Was that ever on the radar? Like doing the Worlds at that point?
Never. I never have thought again.
No,
thought. Just it was there. I always fancied it, but it was never an option. It was never really a.
Yeah.
You know,
but that's a huge deal because people would. I would chop off my left leg to have that opportunity. You know, inside that.
So it was actually Josh Brooks's ride, and Josh parted ways with this Italian team.
Yeah.
So the Stefano Caracci gave us a call. He was like, Monza, if you fancy it. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll ride it. Well, thankfully, John and Phil let me go and do it. It was just knowing what I know now, looking back, it was a silly, stupid thing. If I knew now what I know, if I knew then what I know now, I should have done Monza and then came out, because the bike was a missile in a straight line, but it was a bit of a pig. Otherwise, yeah, bit of a pig. Monza was all straights. So I went there, never knew where I was going, qualified like 19th and got up to 5th in the race.
That's a hell of a jump.
Finished 5th, but I don't think I'd be speaking out of turn. Like World Supersport then was fucking
fast,
like,
real fast,
really deep. Like,
and to work all the way from 19 up to 5th is saying something.
It was a strong result. It caused a bit of a stir. You know, it was like it was a good one, and I should have left it at that. Came back to Britain, and then I'd showcased myself to the world guys. And I just came in top 5.
Turned up, upset some people, go home high.
And then they were like, "Oh, next round." So I went to the next one, and then normal tracks, and it was like it was
back
nothing,
to the pig.
It was nothing like it was, you know. And I think I did the 2 championships together for the rest of the year, and I think I got top 10 at Assen, 10th there in the rain. I got an 11th at Lausitzring, a couple of 14ths, and that was it. And
I know you're incredibly modest playing those results down, but as you said, as you alluded to, World Supersport back then especially was like unbelievably competitive. So you know, to be in the points at all those tracks on
it's hellish
on a pig of a bike.
If I'd left it at the 5th,
I suppose
it might have just.
Is that Stefano? Is that the Italian guy that works with Tommy Bridewell now? Yeah. I worked with him for one round a few years ago, and I think that Josh Brooks. Did you listen to the Josh Brooks podcast when he was on here? I'm sure there was a good story to do with like a team changing and somebody like taking the keys for the. Can you remember that, taking the keys for the truck? I can't remember if it was that team or not, but So from that year in doing both championships, stay in Supersport again.
Stayed in Supersport, and there was not a lot going on really. Only bike that was available was Kawasaki for Nick Morgan, and Nick's been another guy in my career who's actually been there quite a few times. You know, he's been good to me, and I really like the guy. You know, he's often in the years ago he was often maybe struggled for budget, you know, but the team were a hell of a
solid unit,
good unit, you know, and the bikes were as good as it could be.
Bike racing's an extremely small community, and obviously I was due to ride for Nick last year, like before the whole COVID situation, and obviously with it being a small community, you speak to a few people and you know straight away, you know, if soon as people like say don't pay bills or have any sort of problems, the whole paddock knows about it straight away. And when I was due to ride for Nick, every single person I spoke to was just totally sung his praises. Everyone that had ridden for him, Michael Rutter was properly praising him, and
I think
that speaks a lot for it.
It's very rare in any walk of life.
I think what I mean is like he did a lot on the budget he had.
Yes,
you know,
mm-hmm.
I think he'd probably be like that because he had next to a fraction of what the, you know, them days, the Airwaves guys and the Honda.
Mm-hmm.
Honda was like factory
Honda.
Japanese in them days.
Am I right in saying the Kawasaki wasn't the sort of force that it is today back then as well?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, but
in terms of the manufacturer, like, you know, now it's kind of dominating world.
The 2011 bike was the game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I don't think they were that.
They were there or thereabouts, but not
good.
not
Good,
competitive enough to win races.
Mm-hmm. So what year we're up to now? I'm losing track.
07 that was.
07.
And the 600 that year was a new model in development, and it was a slow start to the year due to that. And then I went to Kawasaki, France for an endurance gig. Got the call up for that, and in them days it was like to do a world endurance round I was getting like $3,000. I was like, $3,000.
I'm going.
I'm there for one race. So I went off to test it, and there was like 6 riders, I think, and there was an A team and a B team, and we're all kind of testing, and you have to kind of push on because you want to be in the
A team. Aye.
And I think, I can't remember what it was maybe more money or something if you got into the A team.
The damn pride of it.
And it was raining, and I was going just quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. Never had a slide. Quicker and quicker. And then the one slide that you have went high-sided and landed on my feet and broke my heel. And that was a bad injury as well. It was 3 months. 3 months with that one.
And you're still doing transit sumps in the carriage at home with a broken heel. Get on with it.
So that was a low point.
Aye.
Because then I'd had like quite a few years. I was just like, you know, looking back at the kind of 02 sort of burst onto the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and then 04 or 5 or 6 or 7 was pretty not mega.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a bit here and there.
Yes, aye.
Bit patchy.
Patchy. I agree with you.
And then so Nick moved to Superbikes for the 08. And he put a nice little bike together. It was just like a kit bike, but it just seemed to it rode pretty easily. You know, you could ride the thing pretty good. You know, it's just a pretty modest bike, but it was like a nice, good package, and the team and everything, it all worked pretty good. And we had a couple of top 5s here and there, and top 8s battling away. And then what happened that year? I got a broken wrist. Broke a wrist that year, so it was another setback. And it just seemed to be like injury after injury after knock back, and just pretty tough, eh? And then, but I had been going all right, and Sean Muir had sort of been keeping an eye on the job, and he was looking for a number 2 rider that he could pick up, and I kind of fitted the bill because I was begging him to ride the bike, pleading for them to stick stickers on it, and we went to Macau. Still no deal done. I went to Macau and I managed to win that race, and the bike was really nice little bike.
Is that when you smashed the lap record?
No, that was in a couple of years after.
Oh, sorry, that was your first. Your first win, yeah.
And Sean was like,
There's somebody here.
And I was begging him. I was like, look, a couple of top fives and this and that. I was like, on that bike, I can do all right. And he'd already signed Carl Harris, and I was like, just get me on the second bike, And it went right through to like New Year, still were not kind of done, and then eventually hit the sort of green light, and Paul Bird stepped up and sponsored me personally.
Oh, brilliant!
So I had kind of Paul on board backing me, and then on this Honda, it was a good bike, and straight up like podiumed at round 1 straight away. It was good.
Do you still keep in touch with Paul and stuff like that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Good.
Bit. Not a lot, but I don't really keep in touch with that.
Oh God! Wait, that's it. You've all got your own lives, haven't you? And you just get on with your own thing. It's just like it's nice that Paul's stayed like so loyal to you.
It certainly speaks massive volumes. The fact he sponsored you, especially riding for another team, he must have thought a hell of a lot of you as a person to do that.
Yeah,
it's a big compliment in itself.
That's a hell of a compliment, isn't it? So people come and go.
So that 2009 year was great. What a fun year that was. It was just, I never actually finished lower than 4th in a race.
Wow.
That year, had a couple of DNFs. And we got 3rd in the points. Camier won it, and Ellison was 2nd.
And back then as well, that was on the Airways bikes where
they were 1-2.
Yeah, and where them bikes as well were.
I know they had their struggles with their budget, and the bikes coming late and all that, but once they got them running, they were factory bikes.
Yeah,
and I was like the first of the
sort of best of the rest that year.
Yeah.
And therefore, did you stay with Sean for another year? Yep,
that was a Swan year, 10. But I never really got on with the bike as much in the second year. The first year in 2009, they had the bike with the electronics they had, and they had like an air bleed system for the corner entry, like this air bleed thing they used to have. And Pete Jennings had the thing. Nice, I liked it. Just really liked the bike. It backed in a little bit, and I just got a real good feeling with it. Yeah, and it was consistent. And then for the following year, they went to different electronics, and it was like almost like pushing into the corner a lot, and it was inconsistent, that electronics thing, and it was 1 minute it would back in, and next minute it would push, and I never ever got that right. I never felt as comfortable, and one meeting I did win a race, next minute I'd struggle, and then maybe podium struggle, really inconsistent.
What was Sean Muir like as a boss?
Good, really good. I like Sean. I never really keep in touch now, but a little bit on Facebook and stuff.
We had a good podcast with Sean. It was only maybe
I watched it. He never even mentioned me. I thought I was watching for it to see if he said that Stuart Easton won me my first BSB race, but he never mentioned me.
He knows that. He doesn't have to mention it. He knows, and you know that's the important.
It was at Croft as well. It was good.
There we go then. So
local team, and it's my local really.
Jesus.
And we won at Croft, and then we won again at Olton.
There we go.
So won a couple of races. That was a good year. Yeah.
So what's your favourite track then out of everything? Roads and
Olton.
Olton, straight off Olton.
Yeah.
I like
Olton. Loved it.
You had that win there that year when Shaky I can't remember which way off. Was it Keogh knocked Shaky off?
And you won.
Yeah.
That was back. So you're back with Paul Bird as well after that period.
Yeah.
This was sort of coming into the time when I'm like familiar with, because all these years up till 2011, that was before I used to watch a bit of BSB when I was a kid, but like before I was in the paddock and sort of following it closely. So my sort of memory is much more of like racing in when you were on Paul Bird's and the EPME Yamaha and Martrain Yamaha, that sort of era. So that race at Oulton Park, what sort of year was that?
That was 15.
2015.
Yeah.
I just remember watching it on the telly and the commentary and the audience. Everyone went bloody mental when you won that.
Yeah.
Everyone was screaming you on, willing you on. It was hellish, mate. Absolutely
15
hellish.
for the first, until I got injured again. That was probably the best I ever rode, and that was after my injuries.
Mm.
You know, after the 2011 started off good on that Kawasaki, the 2011 year was when I don't think there was anything happening with Sean, because I'd never had a great 2010. You know, and back to Nick Morgan, my old pal Nick, and but that was a really good setup, because Paul Bird had the World Superbike Kawasaki gig, and Phil Borley, the main man at PBM, Kawasaki just wanted him to be a data guy, and I think this is how it worked anyway, but he's more sort of driven than just doing the data and nothing else. He wants to try things, and he wants to have a bit more free
Proper
hand.
race engineering.
So he agreed to come with me to BSB at every one that never clashed, which was like nearly them all, and he had free hand then to do with my bike and that, and he still did his World Superbike job. But having Phil with Paul's input, and then Nick's team was nice, great job. So the two together with me that was a great year, and everything got back on track there, and I was seconds, thirds, fourth, second again. I was second in the points before I went to the Northwest and had that crash.
Yeah.
So that was another year that was like
on the rise again.
Looked great, injury again, and that was a big injury. So then we were like sidelined for nearly a year.
Bloody hell.
I managed to scrape into the testing in March. From May till March.
Yeah.
That was
a long time.
I was never fit enough.
We've spoke to a few people recently about that sort of thing, about the injury and the rehab. What was that cold ice therapy thing that someone was on about?
Chirogenic.
Chirotherapy, and then there's the likes of like the magnet therapy and the them chambers, oxygen chambers and stuff like that. Are you just a natural healer?
I don't think
he's some hoik man.
I just think I think if you've got a decent fitness base before your injury, you just need time.
Did you do a lot of training?
Time, isn't it? You can't. I don't think how can you
replicate time? Yeah.
How can you speed it up? Remember, like all the things with people who's got the bone welder and all that, and the laser treatment and that. I think it needs to heal, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you need time.
There's a little bit of us that thinks that, but then if you look at, for example, say when Valentino Rossi snapped his leg and he was back on a bike 11 days later racing top 5, there's something going on there. That's not
cereal,
natural.
Special K. Lots and lots of cereal.
I think in GPs though, they still get the injections, don't they, for pain?
They've got to, haven't they? They've got to. It doesn't matter how much.
There must be something going on. Yeah, I mean,
they used to have them in British Championship.
Really?
I've had a few of them.
Can you remember when Lorenzo had that massive high side Assen and he
collarbone?
He flew back to Barcelona, got operated on, and then flew back to Assen and got on the I think he got on the podium as well. Like that's just like outrageous.
Yeah, that's a powerful stuff there. The episode's getting called Special K now.
Yeah, it is.
It's got to be that. It's very drug orientated side of it. So, right, we've gone from Oulton Park being your best track. What's your worst track? Snetterton. Right.
Bogey track was Snet. Never got on with it.
You're not a fan of Snetterton, are you?
I've done it twice. One on a track day and one at that. I did half an hour last, and I just didn't.
That's going to change this year. It's going to be your favourite track after next weekend.
It's just one of those that, like, I went round and went, I'm always grateful to be out on track. I'm always grateful to get the opportunity to be out racing bikes. But I remember going around there going, it was all right. I can't wait to get back.
I felt like from turn 3 was horrendous. and then turn 4, 5, all the infield.
That
vague, vague, and I
bit
was
made up.
Like Alton's for me.
Character.
When you got the compressions and you can really feel the camber.
Aye.
You know, the bike. You can put the bike where
Like
it just
Cadwell's
feels
like that.
positive.
Brands.
Just feels dead positive, but Snet, all the infield just felt like vague,
a bit artificial.
Yeah,
But then, did he enjoy Croft?
loved it.
You see, that's the thing I can't get around it. Like when I went to Snet, I'm like, it's like a flat airfit. I'm thinking, well, so was Croft, but I enjoy Croft. But then, totally agree with you. Like Cadwell, Alton Park, the undulations and everything. I totally agree with
Probably just sometimes these tracks just get in your head, don't they?
I suppose.
Probably beat myself before I got there.
That's what I'm doing now.
And towards the back end of your career, so 2016 was the last year with, it was EPME Yamaha. That was Tommy Hill's first go, kind of after him winning the championship and then stepping back, setting up that team. Talk us through that year, like sort of how, cause you'd had such a good year before with Paul Bird.
Yeah, I was coming off an injury from 15, and then I think there was a few things like we got Josh's bikes from the year before that we won the championship on, so it was like the bikes, the hardware was good, but the bike never fitted me from the word go, really. Just the seat to the pegs to the way the difference from the seating position to the pegs and everything, and it just, I don't know, I never really caught onto it. I just thought I'll just ride the Yamaha, this is how the Yamaha is, and I just never really I should have been more experienced enough to be like, hang on a minute, I need my pegs up and I need this, I need that. But maybe riding for all them other teams that maybe just had it in hand for me, I don't know.
Very honest with you though, you know what I mean? Very honest with you.
So that was, I never got on with it, and I think the Yamaha was a little bit different.
It took a long time. It took a while. Hold on, it took a while, didn't it? They did lots of things over the years with the Yamaha, didn't they? Swap it up and put it on its nose, put it on its rear, change this, change that. It took a long time.
Was it you and John Hopkins that year, teammates? What was John like as a teammate?
Good. I never really seen much of him. Just kept himself to himself, really. John, he was a pleasant, nice, polite guy. Just nice.
He always comes across like really easygoing and just
never really seen that much of him. But he was just nice, steady guy.
And towards the end of that year, did you kind of feel like you'd sort of done everything that you'd sort of want to in your career, and you were ready to walk away? Or
I think that, well, going back to 15, I think I had the 2011 big injuries, and then came back, and I've worked my way back up to 2015 riding, I think, as good as I've ever done, if not better. And I was like, pretty much at the sharp end, like right in the hunt, points wise, strong results,
wins. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you win a few races at Knock Hill that year in 2015? No. I remember you battling for
twice.
I was going to say you must have been close, because I remember you challenging shaky there.
Yeah, it was strong. I was strong that year. Really, really pretty good. And then halfway through the season at Brands, I had no brakes at the end of the straight, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what caused it or whatever. But
it's happened a few times.
Mechanical failure.
Leon Haslam.
Yeah, it's funny how it's always that corner.
There's got to be something behind that, because that has happened on that corner a few times.
I don't know why or what, but
did you not get a head shake or anything? No.
But anyway, it was a jump off. It was a jump off. Whatever happened,
there'll be a statistic to how many times someone will be out there, some genius out there will know exactly how many times there's been a brake failure on that part of Brands. I wonder if has any been a brake failures anywhere else at Brands on the circuit.
There will be, loads. There will have been, won't there? Like
but none that like really stand out for anyone.
I know a few people that have lost brakes in the paddock. That must be scary as well.
Jesus, wet.
It drops off. But
never been round Brands. Watched it million times. Never been round it.
Right.
I'd love to, but I just never done it. Never done it.
So I think maybe in hindsight and honesty, I think getting back to where I was in 2015 and riding good and everything, and then when that crashed and I broke my my left ankle and my right tib, so both lower legs were broken, both needed surgery, quite bad. The ankle was like unstable, broke up both sides, and the tibia was tibial plateau, like so it like went in like that, and compressions that needed like a built up in a plate and screws, and it was a couple of nasty injuries. And then maybe just I was gutted because I was like I never ever made the showdown ever in all them years, which is a bit embarrassing.
Not
it's
embarrassing
not
at all.
embarrassing at all.
Just
It's
for one reason or another.
it's like with this sport, you need lady luck on your side. And
Look at Christian Iden just like before this year. You know, he's easily one of the best riders in the championship and has been for a number of years. But for every year, he got injured at the wrong time, missed a couple of races, came back from injury, and then was 7th of things. And you know, it's a bloody tough sport, isn't it?
So with that, when I was like strong in the points, like good 3rd, 4th, whatever I was, but strong, and I thought this year I only had a few 3 rounds to go, and I was right strong points wise, and I thought we're in this year, and then and I missed it by 3 points.
You're joking.
Missing 3 rounds. Linny scraped in by 3 points.
A bit, mate.
Tried to ride it Ulton with like no legs, like
just couldn't load back.
Couldn't put in it in that, and I went into Cascades, just barreled in just a passenger and lost the front.
You're joking.
Crashed. Tried to ride to get a couple of points, and it was stupid.
And so from that last year of BSB, from all the injuries and stuff,
I think that bothered me more than the big one.
Yeah,
I was just like what I thought, like, oh, I've had this huge big accident and I've managed to get away with it. I was like, lightning will never strike twice, that sort of thing. And then to have like 100 odd miles an hour, no brakes, jump off and break my legs quite bad, I thought, and I thought maybe subconsciously
it ticked for you and just went aye.
And what about your pure road race? And what was the last road race that you did?
I rode Macau at the end of 16.
Right.
And that was when I knew I was finished.
You've had your fun. I had your fun, and you knew it.
I was done.
Why was that? Sorry.
I was just like, when I've set a lap record or whatever, you're just buzzing. I'm winning. I'm getting the first place trophy. I'm getting all the.
I'm getting the checks in my pocket to show me that.
I'm doing it. And I was winning no matter what. And then from like that to riding 6th or 7th or whatever, and I was literally near enough scared.
For you, like racing bikes, you want to be competitive. It's not just riding bikes for you, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. You know, that's a perfect way of describing it. Really, it's like you get your enjoyment about being competitive. It's not just being on a bike, and that is the amount of people that will respect that, and I respect that, and so does Chrissy. You know, that's a hellish thing, mate. It really is.
I would never want to ride and be whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to push at the front. No, that's good, mate. That is.
I'm just getting up we have a Patreon page. It's like social media for like our fans of the podcast. Just before that Patreon page, I was just going to ask, do you know, for example, if your son started tarmac racing, was, you know, getting on and enjoying it, and he said, Dad, I would like to go and do the Northwest and Macau, like maybe the TT. What,
I'll catch you in the anchor bar, son. Get the laps in.
Yeah, well, have you sort of thought down that route and
I would try and steer him away.
Right.
Aye, because I've had tires delaminate.
You've seen the dark side of the sport. Yes,
I've done all, and I was like amazingly lucky to get through the other side.
Yes. Yeah.
So no, I would try. But if he said, I'm
doing this,
I'm dedicated to it, and I really want it, and I'm desperate. How could you stop?
Yeah.
That.
No,
You'd have to. His mum might.
his mother might say
We've got the last podcast it was two podcasts ago, episode 99. We had Jenny Tinmouth on, and we had a right laugh at the start of that podcast because we went to the toilet before the podcast. All around the whole workshop is just trophies and pictures of Jenny and our World Book of Records. And then went for a quick wee before the podcast, and she's got a massive poster of you up just above the toilet.
No one else in the toilet, just you,
and
mate.
we were saying, like, what's Stuart done wrong for that? And she was laughing. And the reason was because the colour of the it's like an orangey, and she had you, and she's clearly a big fan of yours. It was nothing like bad. But someone said, so we've got Julian Rose, one of our patrons, said, how does he feel about being Jenny Tinmouth's pin-up boy? And I think that's what that refers to.
You're honoured, mate.
We've got Tracy Dudley. If you could race one more time, where would it be?
Oh, that's a cracking question.
Probably Croft.
Croft, on what bike?
The Honda.
There we are. The Honda.
And we've got Mike Orton, great guest. What was it like being mentored by Hizzy, which we've talked about? As he's from even further north than you two, does that make you guys Southerners? What was it like? What was it like getting started racing with less track choice, and how did he get started? Which we've talked about. How did he end up on the roads? We've talked about that. Is there a connection with Keith and Moore?
No.
We not mates with them or anything.
Yeah, good mates. Well, Keith was a motocrosser.
Good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep, Scottish champion.
Right?
Yep. Keith was...
There's no hope for me, because everyone we talked about was a good motocross rider, so I'm screwed, aren't I? So there you go.
I never... Keith's a bit older than me, so I never really... I knew him when he started road racing.
Aye.
You know, and an ex-motocrosser.
Aye.
Scottish. So we just kind of met him like that, and then he's mad as a box of frogs, isn't he?
Bloody brilliant. I tell you what, I think my last question for me anyway is, what's been your favourite moment? Your one favourite moment that stands out? It doesn't even have to be on the, off the track, on the track. The anchor bar is a very intoxicating place.
If you're gonna picture one moment, have it like the top of the stairs and a big canvas from your racing days.
My second Supersport championship with Martre, we never even spoke about them, and they were a great team to ride for.
They're coming back this year.
Yeah, I know.
With young.
When we went through the years, we missed the 13 Supersport year, where he'll be raging. Tim will be like,
No, we're talking about him now. That's your highlight moment.
It is. Because that was like the first Supersport title came quite easily, quite naturally. You know, never after all the kind of injuries, tough years,
defending,
blah, blah, and with the year with Martrain, it was a good bike, good team, and it was a tough year with Seeley. Seeley's a blooming little terrier, you know. He's a hard.
He's a racer.
He's a scrapper, isn't he?
Is he?
Do you have a good relationship with Seeley off the track?
No.
Right.
That year we never really said a lot. But he's quite. That's just how Alistair operates. He's
head down, arse open.
He is. He's quite hard.
Means business.
Aye.
But
fair play to him when I managed to come out on top. He had a beer after, and it was good.
I'm just trying to think. Was that when the Triumphs were still quite? There was quite a big Triumph teams. Smiths and
Glenn Richards and Billy McConnell on the Triumphs.
For me, those were glory days for British
Supersport, without a doubt.
So that was a great fun year with another good team.
We expect to see that canvas, and you should go drop it off at Jenny Tim's place. Put it in the bog. There they are. That's a proper picture. There you go, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's probably. There's loads of good memories.
Yeah,
it might even just be a lap time that you.
That
you maybe never thought you could get, and you like see a lap time, and you're like, wow, yes, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
There we are.
And I've lost my train of thought there. I can't remember what I was
You're
going to
thinking
say.
about Martrain canvases. That's what you're bothered. They are.
I was out of all of the now you're in the motocross paddock and racing. Out of all of the motocross dads, who's the biggest motocross dad that you can think of?
It's got to be Sugar Tits.
I'm just saying
It's
because
gotta-
Sugar Tits has just come in. But
I don't know. There's loads, isn't there?
you don't have that. Well, yeah.
Sometimes when I see it myself, I think I hope nobody filmed that or seen it.
That's it. We're doing that tomorrow, so you better keep it calm.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think we're going to have to wrap it up there. We could sit here all night chatting away, but you'll have to go grab a beer, get your bike ready for your son
Cool.
tomorrow.
Aye.
But thank you so much for coming on, and it's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely
Cool.
brilliant.
Massive thank you to our sponsors, Colchester Kawasaki, all of our patrons, of course. And is there anybody that you would like to give a special shout out to? Or you've got Tim in from Martrade.
yeah.
He's on a
Tim.
promise tonight, so we better make this quick, by
Yeah.
the way. I forgot about that bit.
No, I just like to say thanks really because it's never something that I really did. You know, all the guys that helped me in my racing days. You know, you need a lot of help, don't you, along the way? And well,
Yeah.
you need the teams and sponsors, everything. You know, all the guys. They all know who they are. So
Mhm.
Yeah, brilliant.
appreciate it.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on.
Spot
Right.
on. Take care, and we'll catch up next week.
Cool.
Cheers.
See you later. Cheers, mate.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.